Okay, to check the head, we're gonna first make sure that we have a linear curve on a pitch curve for the head. So we're starting on position 1 at 0, 25 on the second position, 50 for the third, 75 for the fourth, and 100% for the highest throttle position. So with that, we're looking at the throttle stick, which will be in the middle. Right over there, throttle stick in the middle position, which is 50% of the pitch curve. And looking at the servos, they should all be centered. And you can see if I move the throttle up or down and set it right to the middle, that's 50%. With that, the links up here, right here, and here should be centered on both sides evenly. Again, that's right here and right here. These two line up, and this arm over here is also level. So basically everything is running level and parallel. First thing to check for all those things: 50% throttle stick, 50% pitch curve, and these are level, and this bar up here is level as well. Now we'll move on to using the pitch gauge to check the blade pitch. Okay, so the blade pitch, or the pitch gauge, which we have right over here, we attach to the tip of the blade about maybe ½ an inch or 1 inch into the blade. You can see from the top. And with the fly bar horizontal, we adjust the pitch blade to be parallel using the fly bar over here as reference. That's set that level, and kind of use it in the background as a reference for the top of the pitch gauge. And with both of those being parallel, we can see that this blade is actually a little bit below 0 degrees. And let's make sure we do that correctly again. So I have top of the fly bar parallel with the pitch gauge. Maybe if I bring it down too far, it's not parallel. If I bring it down too far, it's not parallel. So it's got to be parallel with the fly bar. So now that's parallel right there, and we're reading about -1. I'm not sure why it's not focusing on the pitch gauge, but it's about -1 degree. So we've got to adjust the link for the blade grip right over here. So we'll tighten that up 1 turn to start with and see if we can get 0 on the blade pitch. Okay, so I've adjusted the turnbuckle on the blade grip, turned it in 1 turn, and now with, again, the pitch gauge parallel to the fly bar, the top of the pitch gauge here is parallel to the top of the fly bar across. That's all level, and we now have 0 degrees blade pitch, and that's what we're going for. So again, this, you have to make sure that your stick on the transmitter is at right in the middle, and your pitch curve is at 50%, which is what we are at position 3. So right in the middle, 50%. Servos are in the middle, and we have 0 degrees pitch. So now we've got everything centered on 0, blade pitch is on 0, servos are on 0. We'll now check your the pitch of the blades and your pitch curve on the actual pitch curve you're going to fly. So again, this pitch curve I'm using The 0, 25, 50, 75, 100 is only used for adjusting your head. I have a switch here for the flight mode, which I'm going to flip over to my normal pitch curve, which is more like a gradual arc. And I have that set to 45% on the lowest, 57%, 69%, 80%, and 90%. It's a nice smooth curve. So now we're checking your blade pitch at the lowest throttle point, which here we have at 45%, and this is where you want to be at -2 degrees. So with the throttle all the way down, we measure the blade pitch again. Okay, so with throttle at the lowest position and at 45%, looking at the pitch gauge again against the fly bar, and we can see that at the lowest position I am actually at about 0.5 degrees of negative pitch. So we're going for -2 degrees here. At this point, you're not going to touch anything with the head. You're going to adjust your transmitter, or in your case, PC, to change the curves setting. So at 45% at the lowest point, I still only have 0.5 degrees of pitch. I want to get -2 degrees of pitch, so I've got to lower this value here from 45 maybe to about, I don't know, 35. We'll start there. So at 35%, I look at the pitch gauge again. That's obviously changed, so we're going to get that level with the fly bar. That's about level, and now I have 2 degrees of negative pitch, and that's what we're shooting for. And we'll now go to the highest pitch curve, which is at full throttle. Mine happens to be set at, let's see here, 90%, and what we're going for in full throttle is a 9-degree pitch on the blades. So setting this back on here, again, you want the top of the guide, the top of the pitch gauge to be parallel with the fly bar, which you can see it is, and I have 9 degrees of pitch. So at this point, we have -2 degrees of negative pitch, 9 degrees of positive pitch, and that's a good starting point for casual flying, sport flying, learning how to hover. And at this point, you kind of just want to get the pitch curve on the transmitter to be nice and smooth. Since I lowered the value on the very first pitch curve, now we have a kind of weird angle over here. So we want to kind of make this a little smoother. So with my lowest at 35%, that's -2. I can bring my middle or my second point down somewhat to about 52%, maybe 53, 69 on the third, 80 on the next, and finally 90% on the highest, which is my +9 pitch. So at the lowest setting, I have -2. As I climb up the throttle, I have +9. And that's kind of what you're, hoping to achieve with a nice smooth pitch curve. -2 and +9. And that's about it. That should give a nice mellow flight on the helicopter. And by the way, the throttle curve I'm using with this setting is, let's go to curves, throttle curve. So on my normal throttle curve, I'm flying at 0 on the lowest throttle position, followed by 80% on 2, 83% on 3, 86% on 4, and 90% on the full speed. So that gives also kind of a very linear throttle curve as I move up. So once I get to the first position with the throttle, that gets me almost a flat pitch curve, I believe. Somewhere at half point, I'm maybe at 0, and right when I get past this, I'm starting to get into like my 6 degrees of pitch, which is when the heli starts hovering. So between this position here and full, you're going between about 6 and 9 degrees of pitch, staying in this nice, fairly flat throttle curve. And as you kind of go down,
you're kind of getting into the 0 and the negative maybe 1 degree of pitch, but you still have high head speed to keep this the heli nice and stable if you're in some windy conditions, breezes or whatnot. So it gives a really nice smooth flying helicopter. So give that a shot, and hope that works out for you guys.